Hey, my name is Hatfield Patel, and I am a student who is attending Penn State Abington. Currently, I am enrolled in the English 15 class in which we are studying two principal concepts of rhetoric and genre. Today, I will be explaining my understanding of these two concepts and how they might assist you in deciding what player to pick for the upcoming NBA draft. I'm going to be analyzing and deconstructing a textual genre that the New York Knicks organization may be familiar with, which are NBA draft profiles. Let's start with the basic conventions of this genre. Oh, and by the way, conventions are patterns or characteristics describing a textual genre. As you can see on the screen here, these are the basic conventions that I found in the NBA draft profiles. Some of these conventions include a strength and weaknesses section, player position, biometrics, which are height and weight, college stats, overall statement, highlight videos, and a player comparison. Important conventions are strengths and weaknesses. When looking at these profiles, the strengths and weaknesses allow you guys to see what the player is more efficient in, what the player needs to improve on. College stats are also important because they allow for a better understanding of the performance of the player given the real statistics based off points, rebounds, and assists. The overall statement is a basic summary of the player and if the player will be beneficial for your team. Furthermore, let's look at two effective examples and one ineffective example. First, we have Ja Morant's draft profile. On the top right corner, you have the stats and biometrics of the player, and following that, it has the strengths and weaknesses section. It also includes a highlight video and then ends off with a final verdict. Secondly, we have an example of Zion Williamson's draft profile. Same as Ja Morant's profile, starts off by showing the biometrics of the player, their position, a player comparison, and then it moves on to the strengths and weaknesses of the player, what the player is capable of, what the player needs to improve in, and finally, it moves on to a highlight video and then ends with an overall outlook. These two examples are the most effective when looking at draft profiles because they go in depth with the player, allowing teams to get better knowledge about a specific player. Lastly, I have the least effective draft profile. This profile of Bobo does not include most of the conventions. Bobo does include most of the conventions, but is missing some like player comparison and overall statement, and surprisingly his position. But it is pretty obvious what position he plays on based on his height. Most importantly, you can see that the strength and weakness section doesn't go in depth and all it only provides a few words and that's it. Now let's talk about some affordances. These draft profiles allow fans and NBA teams to see more of a detailed point of view on what the player can bring to their team. A constraint would be that these draft profiles are only based on what the player has done throughout college, so players can improve while others can worsen. Rhetorical situation. What is rhetoric and why is it important? Rhetoric is when the writer tries to persuade the audience, and these draft profiles want to persuade teams slash fans into liking the player, so it is important to know what you are reading. Exigence. The exigence for these profiles are to inform readers of what the upcoming NBA players are capable of and to see if they want them to be picked on the team, causing the writer to create a draft profile. The writer of these profiles can usually be an author of the website, a sports fan, or even an NBA, or even a writer for an NBA team. The primary audience for draft profiles are usually NBA teams or NBA fans, and secondary audience can be other NBA players or even team coaches. For example, maybe other NBA players like LeBron want to see who they will be up against the upcoming season, so they get a head start and look at the draft profile to see what the player is capable of. The entire purpose of a draft profile is usually to inform the reader of what the upcoming NBA player is capable of and what he can do efficiently and what he still has to work on. I hope you will all use this information to help you when deciding on who to pick for the upcoming NBA draft, and thank you for having me.